Do that there. Perfect. Okie doke. I'm gonna get started. Okay, awesome. That's great news. Um, and yeah, because it's great news because I'm mostly going to be just talking through this about this little idea that I had and then about the process as I go along. Oh, the little is quiet? Okay. A little bit. Gotcha. Is that a little bit better? Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid, I'm watching the colors on OBS, trying to avoid going too far into the yellow, but as long as you can hear me, that's perfect. Anyway, I don't know if you're one of the people that has seen the latest season of Arcane. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. A lot of people are talking about how they wish there was more of it, which I completely agree with. Um, but there were a lot of bits that I really did enjoy and that I'm quite happy with, especially Victor's godhood design, which I think everybody is raving about because it kind of rules. Yes, it's very fun. I do recommend it if you've seen the first season of the show. It's pretty different. I think the first season is the more like solid, serious one. And then I think the second season you watch just for fun a little bit, but there's still a lot of good parts. It's still absolutely gorgeous. The art book, I think, is releasing officially tomorrow, and I'm semi-desperate to get my hands on it, if not just for reference. I do say fun. I will, I know personally that my opinion on fun is often different than other people's opinion on fun. Famously, I enjoy a good tragedy. I enjoy a guy who is absolutely going through it. So some people might look at this and go, why are you saying this is fun? I'm devastated." And I'm saying, "But it was a good time. Did you not have a good time? I was entertained." Um, it's also what I really love, sidetracking a little bit here. What I One of the things that I really like about Victor's design, and normally when I make charms like this or little like chibi designs like this, I might go ahead and use the symmetry tool just because, it makes things a little bit easier, makes things a little bit faster. And I might do that for bits of this. Right now, I'm not though, because ironically enough, even though he is going for like kind of this perfect world vibe, there are parts of his design that are not perfectly symmetrical. They are imperfect, which I think is quite fun. I like that a lot. And again, I'm going to tweak this as I go because I know it's going to start off a little funky and then we will get somewhere that I'm happy with it. The one of those things, and I am going to spoil this for you and I apologize. But one of the design elements that I really like is how his head splits in half to make way for the arcane. That rules. And he's fine. He's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. It is good and normal to have your head split in half to form a cool mask. Average queer experience, if I do say so myself. This is also one thing that I think I'm probably going to end up doing later is likely coloring this line work because he does not have solid lines in the show. Obviously, that's partially a stylization thing, but I think it'll look a little bit better with the space effect that I'm going for. There we go. He's got his little scarf, just doing nothing. I don't know why he has it, but it's fun. He has it for his purposes to look cool, and that's reasonable enough. Okay, so the concept for these is I want them to have two designs on the front and the back. One with the kind of spooky, scary aggro designs, the enemies, if you will, and then the friends on the back. The only question is, I'm doing this one first because I got this pose down super fast. I knew exactly what I wanted to do because it's quite frankly taken directly from the show. Not directly, but like he does this big sweeping hand gesture. Um, However, I don't think that the same hand gesture will be taking place on the back, which means that we're going to end up with a kind of spatial issue. But that is a bridge that I will cross when I get to it. Hello, also, welcome in. As I'm just discussing my little idea for these charms at the moment, I want them to have two different designs, and that is going to probably be a problem for future Sam, since the designs are not going to be exactly in the same pose. They're going to be a little wonky. So, gonna draw his hips that he has for no reason. Uh, I do let my Tumblr friends know, you know what? That's a good idea. I have been using Twitter less, um, mostly because of their AI policy. But I will go ahead and shoot my friends. Oh, also a friend of mine just sent my stream chat in our work group chat, which I did not ask him to do, but I appreciate it. Yeah, I can go ahead and make a little tweet a la Julia Drawfee. Yeah, I'm on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky now. Though I'm mostly just posting backlog at the moment, considering that we have a lot to get through. Alrighty, let's get back into this. All right, hi folks, hi people that have joined recently. We are doing Arcane stuff because I was busy last week and I would love to get some art out there before everybody inevitably moves on. Though hopefully, I like to think that Arcane has like staying power. I know that it's something that I recommend to a lot of people that didn't immediately watch it. So hopefully that'll give it some, sometimes fandoms kind of crash after their initial popularity. But I think Arcane will have some continuous popularity. I know League obviously continues to be semi-popular, um, though I do not play and I likely will never. Got his little stick. I would love to talk about this. This single prop is fantastic prop design. Um, Prop design is something that I did a little bit in school and would love to do more of, but this is a fantastic example, I think, of like a character prop, which is a how it changes. I recently forced my some of my friends to watch the first season because they hadn't seen it yet. And what is noticeable is Victor starts with his cane, and originally it is just that. It's a cane that he walks with, that it's just his hand holding it. It doesn't add any more support. And it seems like he can walk a little bit without it. He puts his weight on it, but he's not incredibly reliant on it in the first act. And then by the second act, his disease, his disability has gotten to the point where that cane has been extended to be a full crutch. So now he is leaning on it, he's putting his whole body weight on it. And then at the start of season two, what we see is not a different cane, but rather the same cane that has been extended again. Like the cane itself keeps getting bigger, so that now instead of a crutch, it is that kind of like shepherd's crook that we associate with religious imagery, like specifically the Christian shepherd imagery. And it continues to change and get more and more arcane and less mechanical as he kind of falls into this new identity. And then by the end, it's completely unrecognizable, much like himself, which I just think is fantastic. That's really, really well done. That again, it's not a different thing. It isn't something that he picks up, but it's something that it's a prop that changes with the character. But it's subtle enough that you could miss it, but it's really nice. Okay, he's bony. He's bony. So let's I'm going to start playing with colors now. I do have a reference image. The reference image I got for Jace is on my computer, not on my iPad, so you're not going to be able to see that one. But this one is mostly just for color picking purposes. But I also have this guy if I want to go darker. Because this is obviously the animation technique in this is that sort of like animation moving still over a still image, so that the colors don't necessarily move with the person. So I'm not going to try and copy the exact pattern that's occurring. I'm mostly just going to go with um, the colors and just kind of play around with those. It's kind of terrible that the first uh, example of that that popped into my head was Chowder, which, you know, maybe could be as good as Arcane. I don't know. I haven't watched Chowder in some time. I will also maybe show you another thing, little something that I've been working on in relation to these characters that I've been attempting to finish, but I keep getting a little frustrated with the posing. Way back in 2021, I did, was it 2021 or 2022? 2021, I think. Um, I did a portrait of Victor that at the time I was pretty proud of. Um, Seeing it now, I dislike it a lot. I've definitely grown enough where I can notice a lot of the issues in perspective and proportion and character and color. But at the time, I really enjoyed it. Um, and I really wanted to redraw that particular image with, hello, everything. Oh, shoot. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I don't know why it dropped the connection, so that's something to keep an eye on in the future. All right, anyway, um, there was a portrait of Victor that I liked that is now old, and I went into this wanting to redo it because I think that the theme of the picture, which was this idea of Icarus getting too close to the sun being Hextech, was interesting and really fitting for Victor in the second season. But alas, I am still not quite there with the posing. I will give you a peek to it in just a moment, just as soon as I finish wrapping up these colors so that I can create a base and then lock the layer. And this is one of the reasons why I said I wanted to do that colored line art, just because since the body is mostly space and the dark night sky, I don't think black lines are going to show up all too well, but I think maybe blue ones will. So that's what I'm going to try. Maybe some of that kind of copper color of the wires that are going through him. Hello, hello, any new viewers that are just now joining us. I'm currently talking and raving a little bit about season 2 Victor's design. I love a guy that is also kind of an eldritch god. It's very good. I'm realizing that my line work is tight enough. I probably could have used the paint bucket tool for this. But I'm not going to. Don't worry about it. We will clean up the edges later. This is just to get some flats down. We will add the texture later. Go. Okay, flats done. Easy peasy. I will give you a glimpse of what we had originally. So this was the original piece. I honestly, I don't hate the background. I I don't hate the colors. I think it's just the anatomy, my attempt to like copy the style is a little wonky. That arm is definitely not like long enough. It's not correct. It doesn't fit with the shoulder. Um, and also, while the colors, I don't mind the colors, they could have been exaggerated a little bit more. So I wanted to redo something with that same idea, but maybe now incorporating Jace. So what we have is, so I sketched this, and I like this sketch a lot. So this is, I still want to do something with this, because I like the kind of intimacy here. And I wanted Jace to be doing that like eye thing that we see often in the posters of Arcane, and also is very clearly a reference to that one painting of um, Lucifer with the kind of eye open and like the angry look there. However, when I wanted to like paint it, I lost a lot of that movement. I think because the movement in its exaggeration is kind of more incorrect. Uh, but I don't like the painted version as much, partially because it's too light. The lighting's not there yet, so it's kind of just looks stiff. It doesn't work as well. I redid the sketch to try and fix the arm, did it this way, did one where they are reaching out. You're going to see a lot of this in November's sketchbook, is what I'm saying, basically. I also have this one um, with Victor on top of Jace, which I do also like. There's something there. I don't like it as much, but there's something there. Um, though that one we're getting further away from the original concept. So we'll see how it all works out. Um, and I'm doing all this and shocking everybody. Uh, I don't. Victor's still not my favorite character. He wasn't in the first season. I did one piece of fan art for him, but I think he's a compelling character, but he was not my favorite in the first season, mostly because he was so popular and I couldn't see it. It was not my thing. But then second season Victor came along and I said, "Oh, interesting. It compels me." All right. So now we're going to do Jace, who once again I was pretty on this kind of anti-Jace side. Also, I apologize for my throat. I was at a concert last night and there was a lot of singing, so we're a little rough today, but that's okay. The interesting thing about Jace is that he's going through the worst day of his life, and it's almost entirely his fault, which I do think is compelling in a character. Season one, I was kind of on the side of oh, Jace is fumbling everything he sets out to do. Tough luck, get good. Um, but now he has kind of a funny haircut, so I've forgiven him for some of his crimes. And we're gonna see if I can. He's very rugged, which is kind of a silly thing to draw in the chibi style, and I don't want to anime him too much. You know, that thing that people do where they take a character that is not an anime twink and they make them an anime twink. I don't want to do that, and I fear that that's where this is going to end up, but we'll try to keep the rugged look as best we can. See, the eyes aren't big enough for the design. And they are uneven, which is another thing that we'll have to deal with a little bit later. But yeah, I am not immune to a guy who is going through the worst day of his life for multiple days in a row. That's just a fact about me. We have to come to terms. It's okay. Does he deserve it? Maybe a little bit. But you know, it's for the plot, it's for the narrative. I'm gonna fix that perspective there. Okay, I'm not going to draw the beard in. I think the beard's just gonna be color. Once again, with changing props, Jace's hammer is very obviously a hammer that changes, though unlike Victor, the hammer does not change with Jace. It's kind of, it has to change separately and then he needs to accept it, which is another, I think, interesting little tidbit of artistic storytelling. However, I think the clothing in this season, once again, fantastic design work. Um, I have seen Jace's original design in League of Legends, and I get what they were going for. A lot of people like to kind of just destroy the League designs and say that they are terrible, and I'm not going to do that. I think a couple of them deserve it, but I see in Jace's design like what they're going for, which is that futurism, the man of tomorrow. Like he's a big burly hero. He's gonna come in clutch and save everybody. He's gonna fight this other guy who's also futuristic but like evil about it. And I think what they have done with Jace's design in the show is really, really good, which is you're keeping the idea of that defender of tomorrow or whatever, but you've changed it to something almost nightmarish. Like you've changed it so that he's kind of like he didn't realize that he was going to have to defend tomorrow, and now he does, and he's a little crazy about it, but it's okay. Also, one thing that I think is kind of a not a problem necessarily, but in terms of visual development, when it comes to the league designs, they don't always have purpose. If And I'll explain what I mean when I say that. Um, a lot of like the bits and bobbles that are added are like fun to look at, but they don't make sense. Like there's not necessarily a reason for them to exist on the character. And to be fair, this is not always necessarily a problem. It can be a problem if you're making something that people are going to look very closely at and criticize. But when it's a game, like it should make sense in movement. It should be like, you can animate it, um, but it does not always need to make perfect sense. Jace in the show's design makes perfect sense. You know exactly where every piece is coming from. You know exactly what has happened. The futuristic bits on him serve a narrative purpose. Um, this coattail is too long, but I'm just going to make the other one longer. And in this case, you can see exactly, once again, like Victor, you can see how it started and how, because of Jace's arc, how his design has progressed and changed with him, which is, once again, good storytelling. I also know that I'm hyping up the storytelling in season two a lot here. Just to be clear, I think season two has a lot of issues, um, but definitely not in the character designs. I think a lot of it comes down to pacing. As many people have said, I do wish that Netflix would be willing to give people more time with shows. Um, I don't know specifically what the director says because I don't know if this was fully a Netflix decision. I think part of it might have been a director decision, but I think shows do suffer from having shorter runtimes when they have a lot of story to tell. And Arcane is a really complex story, and I think they did the best with the time that they had. But frankly, I do wish that they had more time. Can you hear that? There's piano in the background, and I don't actually know where it's coming from. I think I might be haunted. Oh well. I might have piano music in my brain. We'll worry about that later. The He's got his little shoulder pad with his hammer. It's not a shoulder pad. I don't know what this is. There you go. And his fists are wrapped because he got injured in the future timeline. Um, Speaking of that future timeline, for those who have watched season 2 of Arcane, episode 7, best episode. I thought it was fantastic, fantastic storytelling, fantastic everything. I absolutely love the contrast between Jace in this absolute hell dimension versus Echo kind of experiencing this heaven that he cannot stay in. Um, I think once again, it's just really strong. You know that the writers and the animators kind of understood what they were doing when they were juxtaposing those two ideas. I know people have been saying it kind of is funny when it switches from Jace just getting the shit rocked out of him, but I do think it's very well done, even if it is also a little bit funny. Okay, Jace has a little bit more line work than Victor because Victor's just kind of a scary guy. This is actually, I think this might be the first time that I've drawn Jace ever. Which tracks, because I did not care about him in the first season that much. My consistent favorite character is Echo, who I have yet to draw for season 2. I did draw him for season 1. And I think it still mostly holds up. Again, the art's a little old, but it was just a little portrait, so I don't think it's aged too poorly. Or aging poorly is not the right word. I don't think I've surpassed it too much in style, I guess. Right, we go legs. These legs might be a little bit big for the chibi design. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. He has the brace on his right leg, or left leg. Right to me, left to him. I do have to go back. I kind of have to go back and scrub for more details. I originally watched it on mobile, and if you know anything about Netflix on mobile, it does not let you take screenshots because they think, I guess, that someone somewhere is going to just screenshot every single frame of the show. But I do want to do that with Arcane. I will admit, just so I want to scrub for the little nitty gritty details, because I have a lot of I want to see if some of my theories about details that they may have included follow through. I think there's a lot in there. For instance, I do believe that the leg that Jace gets injured is the same leg that Victor struggles with, but it might be mirrored. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. Okay, now onto this stupid hammer. Let's see. It's going to be really big, much bigger than it was in my sketch. I think, can I make it as tall as that? That seems like it shouldn't be like that, but oh, maybe it is. See, again, that way they mimic each other. And we got some holes. And once again, I'm lucky, even though this is a big, like, mechanical object technically, that maybe normally I would use sort of the symmetry tool to make, because there's so much like so many organic shapes and these curves and everything. It's not a symmetrical thing. There's very, very little symmetry in the designs in Arcane, which is good design work. Because while symmetry can serve its purpose, in character designs, it's often better to have a little bit of asymmetry just to make them stand out a bit more. I'm actually gonna probably go back and fix this hammer because I don't have perfect reference for it. But it does need to be perfect because it's a weird, giant, scary hammer that has a little ball of light in it. There we go. Perfect. Alrighty. Just gotta finish his arm here. Like again, even the shoulder pads that he's wearing are not symmetrical because they are serving slightly different purposes, and he's been through so much that his design has changed to be less and less symmetrical. Because he's less and less put together. He is not a businessman, he is not a counselor, he is a run ragged wretch of a guy who needs to crawl out of a hole and kill and maybe kiss his best friend. We don't know. We don't know. I am enjoying a lot of like the fan art and fan kind of theories that are coming out of Arcane with these two. I do kind of wish let's take a break from talking about the guys. Let's talk about my favorite girl. Is that even true? Do I like her more than Jinx? Anyway, Mel. Mel. I like Mel a lot. Mel's fantastic, and I would like to also include her in this set of charms that I'm gonna make. She's obviously not gonna have that sort of dream body that these two get, but I would like to do one with her in her counselor garb, and then one with her in her kind of magic brawler state. She's not a brawler, she's a shield, but you get it. The but I do really think it's her story is interesting. It's one of those ones that I wish we had had a little bit more time for to explore some things. I know a lot of people did enjoy like her and Jace together, or even if they didn't, I think it would have been nice to see them talk a little bit more. Because they talk obviously in the first act, they talk a tiny bit in the final act, but it's kind of interrupted because Victor has to come in and I don't know, nag them. I don't remember what happens in that scene. There was a lot going on. It's a good scene. The animation, fantastic. Do I remember what was said? Absolutely not. I was too focused on the visuals. Um, he's just gonna get a little boot. I don't really recall what his boot looks like. There we go. All right, so Jace's lines are done. And I am going to switch gears. No, no, I'm not. We are simply going to guesstimate colors on this one because I don't have a color picker. So that should be fun. We're gonna start with a kind of skin tone that I'm just gonna go through the whole thing with and then lock it. Yeah, right, that's close enough. I think he has a little bit more pink in his skin, even though the reference image that I'm looking at is very washed out because of the hex core colors. But I think once I go in there and add the layers and the textures, it'll be a little bit more. I've realized that the screen has disconnected again for some reason. Okay, are we back? Are we back? Great! Ooh, he looks even more washed out up there. Okay. We'll warm him up just a little bit. Slightly better. There we go. And this time I actually am going to save some time because we're running up on the end of the hour here. I don't actually love using the fill tool in Procreate because it has a habit of leaving these little lines behind. Doesn't quite know what it wants to do. But again, that's going to be a problem for future Sam. Kind of like how this was a problem for future Jace. We all make mistakes. All right, this is gonna once again change the shape of the keychain. So that will be fun. All right, he's blocked. He's blocked in. He exists in space. Okay. Unblock. And now, for the final couple minutes, I'm going to show you the reverse of this concept. So on the flip side, we want to do the space bodies from the show. Now, you immediately see this is very wonky because the shape of Victor's keychain is crazy compared to just him existing. I'm thinking if I can futz with the outline a little bit, I can get kind of a butterfly effect going in, and that butterfly will fill the space on both sides. But first, we do have to actually make sure their bodies make sense. I am going to redo, so we're going to take Jace, and I'm going to just make a little outline of him. I realize, okay, his arm is too short. I'm realizing it. I see it. I see that his arm is too short. All right, so we've extended it a little bit. Just in there. He does look very silly without his beard. He looks like a child, and that is partially because of the cutesy style, but I mean, come on. Again, the beard will be colored later. All right, so that's the general shape that we have to fill. And again, because of the hammer and because of the staff, we've kind of, it's wonky. So I think we're gonna say that this little bit here is also gonna be filled up. Because I think if I do that, I can probably justify adding a little bit more detail. And then we're gonna keep that bit there. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. And we're gonna flip. Ooh, and that's another thing. I actually should have flipped that. Okay, he's a little bit wonky. Not too bad. I'm just gonna... He's doing a little dance. Okay, that's fine. All right, so we have the general shape of what I want to do. And I think what I'm going to do with the bodies is almost cheating. Not quite. I don't think I count it. Let me see. How tall is Jace here? Okay, I'm just going to make a mark. So his feet have to end here. Head's got to end there. Perfect. Gotcha. I think what I would like to do is have... They're reaching out to each other. This shape is over here. This shape is the problem. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to kind of create the start of that butterfly wing motif. And then maybe lean into the shape a bit. And I think I'm going to do the same thing with Victor to fill the space, is lean into that butterfly effect. No pun intended. And then I think we are going to break the shape a little bit because I can't give Hammer Jace all of the credit. And then we'll have his knee exploding. Head's gonna have to be a smidge smaller, I think, to accommodate for the hair. Don't do there. I like how they both had silly middle parts by the end of the show. I think that's also good character design. I don't love, and I will say this, and I know I'm wrong, I don't love that Jace's beard remains black in like the astral plane. I don't understand why his hair is white and his beard is black. Why is that? I like to think that Victor just likes the beard. But you never know. Who knows? Who's to say? I don't think the art book that I'm gonna purchase tomorrow is gonna confirm or deny why this decision was made to let him keep the beard in the astral plane. And then maybe I'll put like little lights down here, the far away lights. Okay, we've only got a couple minutes left. I think what I'm gonna do, instead of finalizing Victor's design at the moment, I think I am just going to go ahead and try to line Jace. Once again, the line work's gonna end up being colored, but that way we have at least one of the designs pretty solid. So we'll move that, we'll have that there. Gonna look again at Jace's design to make sure I'm getting that hair right, or the shape of the hair, considering in the scene you don't get a lot of detail. I'm gonna be focusing mostly on outlines and not on the little bits and bobs. Though I probably will, when I color it, I'll do a little bit more detail work with like blues and pinks. Because I can't remember if their eyebrows are colored or not. They might be. We'll have to double check that. If their eyebrows are colored, then I'll allow the beard. If not, that's ridiculous. Why is his beard still black? Okay, actually, he's too happy. He needs to be a little somber. He's about to commit, I don't even know what. Does this count as suicide? I think it's a John Martin situation. Am I allowed to make the Magnus Archives reference? I made a post about this on Tumblr, and I think I have seen at least one fic, but I love uh, a couple of characters that are like, I'm gonna destroy the world, and then the best friend or partner is like, no, please, please don't do that. Let's disappear into the ether together. I think that's romantic. I hope that Jace and Victor don't end up trapped in a computer, though. That would be kind of messed up. I hope that they're chilling somewhere. Once again, why am I drawing a shadow? They're in space. And they're glowing celestial bodies. I don't know if I like this face. Yeah, that's wrong. Okay, let's see. That's someone else. I don't know who it is, but it's definitely someone else. I think his nose is too pointy. Perhaps not big enough. Once again, you gotta scrub the Netflix. Let people take screenshots so they don't have to scrub on their computers for ref. My final message today, because I've been going back and forth on like what to call them. I do I am now a JVIC enjoyer. I was not for the first season. It did not hook me, it did not grab me. Um, I didn't think that Victor was heterosexual. I think the people that think that are crazy. I thought maybe he was like aromantic. I think there are multiple ways to read that. I think you could still read him that way. Um, and I think there is a platonic explanation for the final scene, but also, I, I think you could go either way. I think it's fun. I think multiple readings can be encouraged in this scenario. Once again, I've made the outreach that the arm that is reaching out a little shorter than this one. He needs muscles. He's the one with muscles. I can't have him be skinny. Alright, this bit is probably gonna have to get tweaked as well. Or I'm just gonna have to shift the body over a bit. Right, and then we're just gonna make the little butterfly wing there. And I'll do it the easy way this time because I am gonna fix that foot later because it looks right now like he doesn't really have one. There's a hole. There's a hole. Alright, let's see. Yeah, I don't actually know what it's referenced. I think there's a line that I erased that I might not have erased all the way. Okay, that's okay, that's okay. Okay, he's blue. We'll stick with that for now. I think that's enough of a proof of concept. I'm happy with these so far, but they are gonna need a lot of tweaking going forward. Anyway, I just realized it stopped once again. At the very end. All right, I'll have to troubleshoot that in the future. I think this was a solid tryout, considering this was the first stream with the new setup. So I'm happy with how it went. Minimal, minimal problems aside from that disconnect that's been happening a couple times. But thank you everyone for joining, and I will see you next time.